Football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here on a big Monday, a victory Monday on Orange Bloods Live. Cody Carpentier, of course, with me as always. Cody, a big weekend in just football, man. I'm still getting over the NFL slate on Sunday, just with a bunch of big surprises and stuff. But man, what a game on Saturday. You and I haven't really had much of a chance to even talk about it yet. I just got done doing the deep dig for the defense. You have your column up, man. Do you want to talk about the stir that the stir that you caused earlier today with all this Quinn Ewers aDOT talk? It feels to me like maybe even Sark Bianco might have even passed that tweet on to Sark, because Sark was ready with all kinds of stuff today, even before he even got going in his press conference, about not necessarily excuse making, but just sort of reasons why Texas isn't throwing the ball deep.
Yeah. And I like I said, I get up usually at the crack of dawn on Monday and start this column, and I'm digging through things and finishing it up. And I took a different angle on my Behind the Enemy Lines piece this morning, and it generally is towards, Oklahoma, Georgia, A&M, Florida, whoever, right? But since it's a bye week, I was like, I'm gonna turn this thing and kind of do some housekeeping and kind of focus just on Texas and some of my thoughts and takeaways from the seventh win. 7 thoughts from 7 wins, and one of them I came across. One of the first ones I came across was the aDOT and the downward trend in aDOT from 2022 to today. And
what aDOT stands for guys that don't play fantasy and stuff or aren't into analytics, it's average depth of target, aDOT.
And I came across it with a T and realized in Power 5, he's literally the bottom of the bottom. And I tweeted it out. And I just it was a basic tweet. I just said, Quinn Ewers aDOT, average depth of target is 5.9 yards in 2024, ranking 79th of 79 in Power 5, period. That was it. That was all.
Among 20% snap qualifiers, right?
Correct. But that's kind of, threshold, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have no malicious intent. I just tweeted it, and it went nuclear. And so I put a tweet underneath it. I said, this wasn't tweeted to disparage Quinn. More of an interesting nugget than anything. The offense has work to do, not just Quinn. That's my take. And it popped off. And then the press conference comes around. Sark has one of the longest opening statements he's had. And stat, talking about every position, whatever. One of the questions he was asked was about throws of shorter than 5 yards, which he's had quite a few. I mean, that's just the art of the game and what it is right now. And we've talked about it, and he's talked about it, and I think it's not. How do I explain this? He's talked. Everybody knows how important it is to have a 1,000-yard rusher, right? For Sark.
Yeah.
There's no running back in this room right now that is shows resemblance of a true 1,000-yard rusher. Jaden Blue, I think, has factors, but if he can't hold on to the ball, it's hard to trust him, right? Trey Wisner, I think, was fun for the first couple games, and to me, it's become more inefficient than anything. And so you're seeing the extension of the run game be utilized out of the backfield to both guys. And both guys are creating after the catch. I'm trying to pull up somebody had a great response to me in my thread today about this. So of the 288 passing yards that Quinn had on Saturday, 228 were yards after the catch, created by the receiver. 80% of the receiving yards were after the catch. And the big thing was everyone goes, well, how are we the third most explosive team in football, having the third most explosive plays of 20-plus yards, yet Quinn has the lowest aDOT in football? How do these two things work? And people were having a tough time, I guess, kind of trying to understand that or make sense of it. And I think it's a multitude of things which can easily be explained just as Everyone's talked about the speed of the team. Everyone's seen their abilities after the catch. I just read you the number. 80% of the yards on Saturday in the receiving game came after the catch. You know how explosive they are. And that's just what is happening. And that's their way of extending the run game to the outside, right? They created 9 missed tackles on Saturday. They had 9 explosive plays. 80% of the yards came after the catch. And the interesting thing here is 43% of those explosive plays we talked about, 25 of those explosives on the year have come with Quinn. 17 were centered around Arch, and 13 were centered around the running game, running the football. So
hold on, how much for Quinn versus Arch?
43% of the explosive plays in the season have come via Quinn Ewers throwing the football. 1 explosive play per 8.3 dropbacks. Arch at quarterback, and these are I worded it as centered around Arch because Arch has obviously rushing explosives. 29.8% or 17 explosives were centered around Arch. 1 explosive per 5.5 dropbacks.
I was going to say, right. I mean, because it's a smaller, it's just the 2-game sample with Arch, right?
Correct. But even that, he's got 17 to where Quinn's got 25. It's like you can infer that in one more game played, Arch would likely hit or surpass the Quinn number, which, I mean, on the game season, on the season, they're averaging around 7 to 8 explosives per game. But anyway, the more so the point, and I know the title of my thread this morning was the worst aDOT in Power 5. It's a factual statement, but it was not meant to disparage Quinn. And so hopefully if anybody out there is listening that's in the Texas front office, they understand that was not meant with malicious intent. But
they are listening. I can tell you at least some are. Yeah.
But anyway, like, I just thought it was a very interesting thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Everybody knows, what the offense wants to do. Sark has talked about what the offense wants to do. He talked about it today. What was the exact phrasing? You wrote it down here. About they had 1 snap, right?
Yeah, he said that they had. He said
I don't want to quote it wrong.
He said that they had one. They played man-to-man underneath on 1 snap, not in the red area, and that was a TD pass where we threw it over the top of them.
Yeah,
he said if you want us, he said tell teams to move up and we'll throw over them.
Yep,
tell them to move up. He basically said during the press conference, he said, man, teams look at us and they talk about us and think about us like a team that's going to go in and just live and die by the long ball and stuff. And he's like, we're not, and they back their guys up. We have JD in the chat. So usually the Vandy game live, there are 2 high safeties a whole lot. I mean, you can see it, right? I mean, that's what Sark was saying. It's like if they're going to give us the space underneath, it is how the offense, and most specifically how these skill position players, and even more specifically the wide receivers, but we're seeing it out of Gunnar Helm as well. Dudes who can create after catch. That's what Sark wants. I mean, it's what he wants. He wants dynamism from those spots and after catch stuff, because as we always talk about, so much of this stuff, when people talk about Sark's eye candy, and they talk about his the various motions and the shifts and the orbit stuff and all the rest of it. A lot of that stuff is designed just to get the ball out quickly on into space on screens and things like that. Which
Quinn's good at.
Not always. And you mentioned as extensions of the run earlier. It's out of necessity, they've had to do this stuff that's trying to be extensions of the run lately, but that's not like, it's not part of out of necessity. It's part of, like, it's a feat. Like, that's a bug. What they're having to do right now is a bug in the system, right? They're saying we can't really run the way that we want to right now. So we're going to have to get this going as an extension of the run. I'm talking about the feature of the system, like the shiny, like the shiny toy parts of it. Like it's all the stuff that teams talk about whenever they're getting ready to face Sark, about how they got to tell their defenses, man, don't let your eyes get weird, man. You got to stay with your keys, all this stuff, because if these guys get in space, they can do a lot with the ball in their hands.
Yeah. So I think that's the bigger thing is, we can tweet out stats like I did or talk about a certain thing, but the real, the totality of the situation is that I don't know exactly if that was Sark's plan or want or drive. We have an idea that they're going to do that.
Yo,
But
Cody, it wasn't just the Vanderbilt game, though,
when,
man. That you
when
weren't just talking about that. You were talking about the whole
I,
season.
correct. And I also broke it down by week, right? So in the write up, I wrote, based, and you can go back and look. This is like literally 2022. He's averaging 10. Where's the number? 10.6. Where'd I go? 10.6 average depth of target. 10.6. That's a first down per target. 2023 went down to 8.4. Week 1 through 3 this year was at 6.2, and then post injury 5.8. So that's what I'm like. That's why I put it out there. Was more so just like, think about that. Think about those things in context. Way back in 2022 to 2023 to his third year in the system. Is this really what the system's driven for? Is it a little bit of injury? Is it a little bit of the run game? Is it a little bit of maybe this is what he thinks Quinn is best at, which I believe at the time, I think this is probably what Quinn is best at, is keeping the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and getting out quick. Sarkis talked about that. But I think my overarching point here, and I'm glad that this thing got brought to the forefront and it like got brought up in the press conference for one fact, and that is that Sark got to address it and be like, yeah, we know. And these teams think we're going to do this, but we're doing this. Like, it's completely on purpose. It's driven for a reason. And he had a lot of explanations behind it. So it tells us more so that it's planned rather than it's like, well, Quinn's banged up, so we got to do this. But I just thought it was interesting. Also, the fact that this is a different piece here is this is only the second time in his career he's had back-to-back games with 36 plus pass attempts. These last two games, Georgia and Vandy. Vandy, maybe not one I expected him to have more than 36 pass attempts on. The other two games was Oklahoma State and Washington at the end of last year. In those two games, he had 770 yards, averaged 8.6 per pass attempt, 13.1 yards per completion. In these two games this year, 499 yards, so 271 less.
I wonder what his aDOT was in those two games. Did you look that up?
6.2 yards per attempt. So 2.4 less yards per attempt these two games, and 9.6 yards per completion, 4.5 yards less per completion this year versus last year's games against Oklahoma State and Washington, which everybody wants to, we want to see that Oklahoma State Quinn. That's what everyone wants to see, but it's a whole different situation.
And what I said when I was reacting to the press conference today, I said, like, well, here, my deal is, and I don't know what to make of it. There's all kinds of what did we say? All kinds of confounding, whatever variables here, right? All kinds of things where it's like, who knows what goes into it. But Arch Manning plays in the same offense, right? He plays in the same offense. What's his average depth of target? 10.9 or something. He's tied for 27th in the country. I mean, I just.
Nobody wants to talk about that though. They just want to compare Quinn to Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel and Patrick Mahomes, and they just want to cherry pick stuff and not think about it, not rationalize it in the offense to what they are. We know, based on what Sarkis said, based on what we've seen with our eyeballs, and based on what other coaches have said, that Arch is better downfield.
Oh, I mean, no one's going to argue that,
right? But we've also heard
arguing that.
Sark now say what?
Are people arguing that?
No. I'm saying, together with the fact that we know and we've heard Sark say and we've seen with our own eyes that Quinn is better closer to line of scrimmage, snap reaction, snap plays, get the ball out as fast as possible. He said Quinn's elite in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to believe Sark when he says stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I am too. I think it's all very interesting to me. And it was especially interesting to me how he just got it out there and just kind of got on top of it. You know what I mean? How he said that, he said he thought that Quinn had a tremendous game. And I was like, okay, like I thought Quinn played a good game. I wonder if I would call it tremendous. Would you have called that game tremendous?
I think
there was balls he missed. I don't know.
I think statistically you'd call the half a spectacular half. So I thought this was an interesting thing also that Catch created. You can see by quarter the last three games: Oklahoma, Georgia, Vandy. The first half, look at that QB rating, right? That's the best Quinn's played the last three games, that first half. And then it dropped back down. So him saying phenomenal game, or how do you phrase it? Phenomenal game. Like
I wrote down the quote because I thought it was so. I thought Quinn had a tremendous game.
tremendous half, maybe is what I would have said.
Yeah.
Right? He had a tremendous quarter against Georgia, tremendous half against Vandy. Now let's keep stacking it back up.
I know I didn't mention it at the top of the show because we like to get in, talk football, get out. We're going to be a little bit short tonight because it is my my daughter's birthday today. So they're waiting on me. I've already gotten some trouble from the family on this, and so
we get chicken, we get steak. What are we eating?
That's some of the trouble I've gotten. I've told my wife, I'm like, dude, if she wants to play with her friends, like you guys just go, I'll meet you there. She's like, well, I thought we were gonna have a family thing. I'm just like, why can't we? I'm like, well, I got to do radio, so like I'm tilted about it. So hopefully hopefully they figured it out. I don't want them to have to wait around on me. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's no one cares about this. But
just so you all know in the chat, Alex chose me in the chat, me and you over his family.
He did, dude. It's like tilted that they're trying to make me feel like this. But so yeah, we're gonna get out around 35 or 40 or something. And we'll be back to the normal. I know we had to cut out early on Friday because Cody was dying. Did you get to feeling better over the weekend? Was that just a one night thing?
I think I got a bug on. I had to be. You know what it had to be from? I got some cockamamie Pizza Hut on Thursday Night Football. Sometimes I get this intuition in my head, and I'm like, man, you know what I really need? I really need a cheese stuffed crust pizza to watch this Thursday Night Football game. And so I ordered some pizza and on Thursday night, and then I started feeling like crap on Friday morning when I woke up. And after our show, things happened, and the next morning I woke up and I was fine. So
I think you got it out of the old system. You got it out of the old.
Got her out of the old system.
Good, dude. Look, if can we talk about the Texas defense?
Please, please.
Because dude, they played awesome. Like there were a couple plays that were super weird, and a couple of really bad, ones. Like at the very first series, they let Diego Pavia spit out on the scramble. There was, of course, the Vernon Broughton roughing. There was the Manny Muhammad DPI, his first DPI of the whole entire season, his first coverage burn of the entire season. All very uncharacteristic stuff. Another costly penalty on defense whenever it allowed them to extend the drive there at the end. And then one of the other two touchdowns was, and I don't even know what they were trying to do coverage wise. I'd be interested to hear if anybody out there does know. But I do want to bring good news about the defense, and the good news is like it's probably even better than the good news about Texas beef traders. I mean, dude, Texas beef traders. The good news about these guys is that you can call them and order them, and they'll give you 10% off. And if you live in the Austin area, they'll bring you the best beef in Central Texas, and they'll just bring it to your house. Texas beef traders is where you go to get local beef from great local ranchers in places like Mason, Texas, Lukenbach, Texas, Gatesville, Texas, Wagyu herds, Angus herds, and Piedmontese herds, steaks of all different cuts, ground beefs, anything that you want, man. It is like nose to tail. But it is butchered and processed right there at the different, different ranches. No vaccines, no hormones, no cockamamie shots, nothing like that, dude. Just pure, delicious Central Texas Hill Country beef. There's really nothing like it at Texas beef traders. Great people, great ranches. We can't recommend them enough. You get 10% off by telling them that you heard about them here on Football with Friends. Again, 10% off. They're right there in the heart of Lakeway. Make sure and stop by. Say hi to Darren. Say hi to Shay. Get some free food. But if you can't make it in, dude, call them. Make an order. They'll just bring it to you. All right? Texas beef traders. Okay, so the good news about the defense is that, I mean, I don't know, dude. What's there not to like? Outside of they played 61 snaps. I'm not counting the 2 penalty snaps and those like cockamamie PFF does. They count those as snaps. But I mean, out of those 61 snaps, they had like what? 3 or 4 bad ones. And other than that, just, I mean, we can, it's another one of those things, Cody, where we can just count the ways, where we can just say, all right, look, what did we see here? We saw a game where Diego Pavia basically looked the worst I've seen him all year. I mean, his rushing numbers were fine, right? The Prize Picks overs hit, but it, yeah, but you know, he the magic was not there in the key in the key moments. After that first big touchdown, there was no more magical Pavia that was going to come by and just swindle Texas. And I think it really showed just and me, man, I'm not Mr. Sunshine about these Texas Longhorns all the time. If things look bad, I'll call it out as I see it. They did this stuff where it was just super physically imposing with the way that they set things up. If you look at it, man, they wanted their big, bad, hard hitters on the field the whole time, and it was a great game plan. They had Anthony Hill lined up on a slot wide receiver for 9 snaps where he was just in coverage solo on a slot wide receiver just because they didn't want they didn't want Gilbo in there. You know what I mean? They're just like, we want Ant Hill out here on the perimeter, so we're just going to put him on this slot wide receiver. They had Alfred Collins play 52% of his snaps at a strong side defensive end. That was more than double what he's played at a strong side defensive end all season long. And 3 of these games this season, he has not played. He's not played a single snap at strong side defensive end. What that allowed them to do was have Alfred Collins, Jermaine Lole, Vernon Broughton, and then at the buck, which is usually your Colin Simmons or your Trey Moore, they would have Barron Sorrell or Ethan Burke. And then Trey Moore got his extra playing time because they always had a third linebacker, right? Because in this game, the times that they had a heavy set with 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers, they were in that they were in that alignment 34% of the time in this game. Whereas versus Georgia, it was 12%, versus Oklahoma was 4%, Mississippi State never, ULM 14, UTSA 14, Michigan 17, and CSU 9. So heavier personnel groupings, more 4 down linemen, 3 linebacker sets. They didn't play Gavin Holmes because this is not a Gavin Holmes type of game where he's just not going to be good in run support. So we got to see Kobe Black. And what does Kobe Black go out there and do? Well, he would have gotten a pick 6 if it weren't for one of those stupid things, one of those handful of stupid things with Vernon Broughton and the unnecessary roughness penalty, right? The roughing the passer, whatever it was. Did he get targeting on that?
I never saw this. So I had went to dinner by this point, and I'm sitting in this big fancy restaurant eating oysters, and all of a sudden I had my phone propped up and I'm just game casting it, and I see the pick 6 happen. I never saw the Vernon Broughton hit. Was it bad?
Yeah. I mean, it was helmet to helmet. Helmet to helmet.
So he did.
And probably it had a little bit to do with causing the pick. So you can't say that he just took the 6 points off the board. But dude, it was like 60-yard something pick 6 for him. It might have been 70. It was like a big, big play for Kobe Black.
And I think it was like 4. I saw that pop up.
But dude, they put Kobe Black out there instead of Gavin Holmes because Kobe Black, he's a headhunter, man. He's a hard hitter. And we saw, dude, Kobe Black was out there for 11 snaps, and they, to Vandy's credit, they targeted him. So outside of the would-be pick 6 on 11 snaps, they targeted that dude 4 times. He allowed 1 completion, he had 1 blow up, he had 1 pass breakup, and he had another big solo tackle. So he was out there looking like a total G. So that's good for just immediate depth at the corners, right? And then, you look at the game plan. It was solid. It was smart the way that they did it. They didn't know it maybe at times a little bit bend but don't break. But it was like the only things you could point to was the red zone scoring, which was on 1 busted play, on one Pavia kind of spit out thing, and then one where it was just like, hey, every now and then a team's going to score on you in the red zone, right? But Michael Taft cost 2 turnovers. His efficiency numbers didn't spike through the roof like they normally would because he missed 2 tackles in the game. But Anthony Hill, you might have not known this, dude. Like they didn't give him credit for a forced fumble just because the guy fumbled out of bounds. I can't believe it. These Vanderbilt scorekeepers, they didn't give Barron Sorrell his TFL either. Hill had 9 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, 1 pressure, a batted pass, and a forced fumble. He's a maniac. Trey Moore, he's been ticking up. He had hadn't got a sack yet, but he had 2 tackles, a quarterback hit, 3 pressures, a half a TFL, 1 batted pass, and a fumbled recovery. I mean, that's a maniacal game, dude, for Trey Moore. You know, it's like
he was the thumbnail, and that was for reason, because he's popped, and Sark talked about him today. But you scanned over Taff. I just wanted to get this in because you always say you don't see this stuff come on Twitter because you're working all day on the deep dig. Taff won SEC Defensive Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Does that shock you?
No, I mean, he caused a fumble, and he had a nice pick, but he also missed. It was either 2 or 3 tackles, so it's like that erased his pick in the deep dig.
Okay.
I think it was 2, so it wouldn't have totally erased it. But dude, just can I just tell you about these other? I mainly just also want to talk about Alfred Collins, because that guy has turned good. For 2 games, Cody, he's been good. And there's no, and it's like, there's nothing we can say except, what?
He's in tier 2.
Oh yeah, he's in tier 2. He's in there with the guy like Barron and Colin Simmons and stuff. Now, tier 2 is obviously really big. I mean, Barron and Simmons kind of could be on a tier of their own, but I thought that kind of break from 37 to 33 there was a good place to put it, because I didn't want to put the whole team in tier 3. You know what I mean? So because the rest are so very close, you're going from 33 to 32 to 32, 31, 31. It's like there's at least that 4-spot break right there. But dude, Collins, he was like this version of Alfred Collins that we've seen. He's stuffing runs. He's anchoring down like dude. He looks like a small bear out there right now. He's making run stuffs. He's very active with the tackling. Yeah, dude, the milk carton's retired for now. Now look, if he plays
for now,
we said that. Yeah, but we've never seen it.
Ready to say he's here. We've
never seen it for a 2-game run. Yeah, and yeah, man, like he's playing really really good football right now. And you not only have that, you have also Barron Sorrell. He had 2 tackles, but he also had 2 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, and a TFL that the idiot Vanderbilt scorekeepers didn't give him, like the anthill thing. Leon Lafau, 5 tackles and an interception. Jelani McDonald stepping in for Andrew Makuba. It's very active. He had 8 tackles, a TFL, and a run stuff.
Big hit too.
I mean, it's like I basically listed out the whole defense. Those guys are so dude. Look at where look at Collins on that thing. I mean, he is ticking up, dude. That's been a monster trend these last.
Interestingly enough, Vernon Broughton's is the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to click to where it's like, look, you can see a little bit of pink on there, like that steak's starting to get a little bit medium on you, right? Like a little tiny bit of pink on that thing, right? Yeah, he's trending the wrong way.
I don't know. Which is no good. The Trey Moore thing, I don't understand how it's still as low as it is, but I think he's playing significantly. He's here. Like that was the name of on the thumbnail. It literally says he is here. It's Trey Moore. He is here. Like you can definitively say these last 2 games that Trey Moore has been a noticeable difference. So this was I know your pressure lines are different here. So this is a note that I had made in my column this morning, was that Trey Moore, again, I know these are different than what the deep dig has. Trey Moore has, according to PFF, 13 pressures over the last 3 weeks. He's outsnapped Colin Simmons, who has 3 pressures, 141 to 79, according to PFF. During the previous 3 games, Moore had 100 snaps to Simmons' 91, so they were about equal, while Simmons had the 6 pressures to Moore's 1. Again, those are all PFF stats, not from the deep dig. So they're a little bit cockamamie. We get that. But I just think it's interesting, and that was one of my first takeaways during the game. And then just to circle back and have you talk about him as well.
I guess PFF probably when I gave him a batted pass and not a batted pass and a pressure, they might have given him a pressure and a batted pass on one of them this week. But I quoted out a maniacal game that he's had, and I told you last week he had a great game too. But the only thing about last week was it was negated by the blown contains. So it's like it all goes into the grade. But if you look at his trend here, and this is the trend sheet. If you look at his trend, I mean, he went from 14 11.87 to 11.23. That's a giant jump. If he makes another jump that big, he'll be up here with like Baron Sorrell. If he makes a jump like that big next week. So all it's going to take is him getting home for a few sacks or anything. All I'm saying, dude, this is a championship defense, man. Like this is championship defense. We can talk about the offense all day, and we can talk about the team all day because obviously there's a complementary nature to all of this, right? I mean, there just is. But dude, take Vanderbilt off of their helmet and pretend it's number 25 Tennessee with a running quarterback that's been really good and been kind of magical all season long. And they've beaten Alabama and they've beaten they come within one score beating, I forgot, Missouri or whatever. And then they beat South Carolina. They beat, I don't know. They had one of their good, really good win. And Kentucky. What they beat Kentucky, right?
So they beat Kentucky. They lost to Mizzou by 3. They lost to Georgia State by 4. Because this is a statement that Sark made when he came in. He said that team has lost 3 games by a combined 10 points.
Yeah. And dude, Texas didn't go in there and look like Alabama getting pushed around by these guys. Alfred Collins ain't getting pushed around right now, dude. He looks like a small bear. He's not getting moved. He's anchoring down. Like, I have never been this bullish on Alfred Collins in my whole life. Cody knows. Mr. Milk Carton, dude. Mr. All Flash, no consistency.
Can I ask you a question about the Vandy thing before we get off of it? What if I told you that Vandy team was ranked 25th in the country last week, which obviously everybody knows, right? And Texas was ranked 5th. The spread was what last week? It closed at
18 or something.
I was going to say, was it 17.5? Did it get up to 18? So it was 8. We'll call it 18, right? And the game ended up what it ended up. It ended up 27-24. The spread was 18. They were ranked 25th in the country. Texas was ranked 5th. Vandy fell out of the AP top 25, and Texas moved back 1 spot. Does that make any sense to you in the AP poll? Like, does that the idea behind both of those things happening with that score after that spread? Do those 4 things all make sense?
Well, like I was saying earlier, like let's just say it was Tennessee, right? And they had a Pavia, and Nico was still kind of behind him or whatever. And you go into Tennessee, and they're ranked number 25, and you come out of there 27-24 in a away SEC game, and you just come home with a W. And half of this, and so much of this stuff, there were so many things that conspired against the Texas defense to allow them to even get to 24 points. And knowing all that and knowing that context, I don't think anybody would be tilted about there was nothing about this team that showed me that it can't be a chance. Like, that's a top 25 SEC opponent on the road, and they come home with a W. And in a game where at times, dude, I haven't done the offense, but there were times where the offense looked frustrating, man. The run game certainly does. So, and Wingo, what was all this stuff about? Does anybody have video about what happened to him before the game? No. I'm very interested in seeing. They're saying it looked bad. Like, I guess he had a collision with the Vandy player, and nobody mentioned it during the game on the broadcast or anything like that. But apparently, it was
discussed on Twitter before the game, but I didn't see anything, any videos or anything. I just saw a picture of him holding his leg, but he was standing up and everything was fine. I hadn't seen any video or anything though.
Yeah. And so there's there were a lot of things that could happen. I think everybody that watched that game knows that it shouldn't have been as close as it was. It did take some of that Vandy magic to have it be as close as it was. It's in the end, I'm just going to keep saying it. As far as the defense, we can talk about the offense. We can talk about how the offense interacts with the defense and the way those two complement each other. I know that the team, you can look at it and you say, I'm worried about this team being a team that can get to where Texas' ultimate goals are, right? But I'm just telling you, as somebody that looks at this production, that charts it, that just has a deep understanding of what bad teams look like in this, what bad Texas teams look like, how much they produce, and what and what I've always imagined a juggernaut might look like, one that I wish Texas fans could get to root for. Believe it or not, man, this defense, even with some of the weird warts and stuff that you think you have with it, with the interior defensive line and stuff, when Alfred Collins is playing like this and Jermaine Lole is stepping up his game like this, even with Vernon Broughton falling off a little bit like that, you got some headhunters on this team, dude. Some young guys, some veteran guys. They're good. They're playing championship defense. It just is what it is. Whether they can keep it up is one thing. Whether the offense can hold up their end of the bargain and play that same, because if the offense was playing at the same level as the defense, this game would have been 54-17.
I was gonna say, didn't Sark throw the number like 41-10? He goes, if it was 40, he goes, he said he was walking through everything this morning. I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but he said he was basically walking through things where he could have theorized like a 41-10 win, and he feels like a lot less questions would be surrounding the whole situation if went certain ways and stuff. So I definitely see how that could have.
We definitely got to thank we definitely got to thank Poncho for being such great sponsors here, man. Got to wear around some Poncho shirts or a Poncho shirt this weekend. It was that new kind of light green one, that kind of Park Ranger shirt that you and I both got, Cody. Gosh, that thing's a head turn. People say, "Where do you get these shirts, man?" I'm like, I get them from Poncho Outdoors. And guess what? I'm gonna have this shirt forever. So if you like it, you're gonna see it on me again and again and again, because it's got a lifetime warranty. If anything ever happens to it, I'm just sending it right back to Poncho. They're going to either fix it or send me a new one. But they feel great. They look great. They fit great. They're good at fitting all your stuff that you need, man. Like you can fit right in that side pocket right there that's next to the Colts left chest pocket, that little vertical one. That's a great one for when you're fishing, for your dry bag and your phone and all this stuff. They're just like there's a microfiber cloth on the inside of the bottom of it that you use to like wipe gunk off of your sunglasses. It's just like, these shirts are incredible. Make sure to go to Poncho Outdoors, support them. They're great sponsors of ours. Cody, anything else that you wanted to get off your chest? I'm sorry, guys, it's got to be a little bit shorter than usual tonight, just because I got to get out. It's my daughter's birthday. It just is what it is. It just comes once a year, and
only thing I wanted to add. Yep. Was our guy David Keith Williams jumped in. We haven't seen him here in a minute. He says, I missed a live show from last week where y'all discussed DT recruiting. Also on that live show, y'all mentioned Vanderbilt listing among academia is 18th and Texas is 30th.
Okay. I'm not sure that's exact. I thought there were commenters in the chat that said that Texas was actually ranked higher than Vandy.
I think we have a theory on his utilization of the word academia in this conversation makes me think David Keith Williams might
be a journalist, a journo,
or something.
Oh yeah, or an author,
or an author. Yes.
Yeah. All right. David Keith Williams out here writing mystery novels about who's ranked higher between Vandy or Texas. All right. Now you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can follow us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. All of our Longhorns content is over at orangebloods.com. You can also find our NFL draft and fantasy stuff over at rosterwatch.com, where we also do our work. We can't thank you guys enough for being here. If you could please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. We will be back to a normal schedule with the regular 1-hour show starting tomorrow. We're here every weeknight. We'd love to see the show keep growing, man. We'd love to see the numbers keep growing, and that's due to you guys. So thank you all so very much, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy Monday Night Football. God bless you guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.